What's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at a vertically integrated router, and this is from a company called Rio, and this is going to be their Rio Router. Now, the initial price of this was $540, and now it's about $199. But is it still worth it? What are the benefits to using the Rio Router versus maybe a more traditional router from some other companies? Well, I'll get into that in just a little bit. But before we do so, I just want to talk to you about the overall design. And I think they nailed it. I think they did a really nice job when it comes to the design. It's kind of modern, it's kind of sleek, it's kind of out of the way. It's not big and boxy and bulky. It's just a nice little design that you could place in the corner or place somewhere in your room and not have it stand out like a piece of bad furniture. So I do like the design, and I definitely like their logo. I think that's pretty cool. But looking at the ports on the back, you get two LAN ports, which are gigabit. I kind of would have liked to have seen four at this price point. So at the $200 range, most home routers, most office routers will have four LAN ports on the back, but it is what it is. This has two, and you also do get that one WAN port right over there. And this is a Wi-Fi 6 router that is mesh capable. You're able to connect up to 150 devices with this, so no problems if you have a lot of devices out there. And you also do get some pretty cool features. Well, some of the features are pretty cool. Speaking of which, guys, let's just go ahead. Let me plug this in right now. I'm going to connect it to my router and show you the application. The application is available for iOS and Android, and of course it's called Rio Router. Taking a look at the Welcome to Rio page, this is giving you kind of like an overview of what the special features are to this router. Now, you are able to connect up to 4 different SSIDs, so this is great if you wanted to separate devices. And when you do separate devices, you'll have to put them into what's called a secure room. This is also known as a VLAN, and the great thing about setting up a secure room is it's basically like having a living room, a bedroom, a kitchen, etc., in your home. Whoever's in that room is able to interact with each other, but if you go to a different secure room, those devices are not able to talk to other devices. So this could be great for setting up a secure room for all of your IoT devices. This way, they're not able to communicate with any other devices on your network. It's also great if you wanted to set up a different rooms for maybe like your kid's Xbox, or maybe you wanted to set up a room if you work from home for all of your business devices to connect to. Again, it's a great way to separate devices, separate clients from talking to each other. So I actually like the secure room feature. There is password protection, so 2 layers of password protection at the SSID level. And again, within each of those secure rooms, you do have device administrations, of course. You also have device allow listing protection. Now this is sort of just like giving access to devices when they connect, sort of like basically MAC address verification, and it's a great way to kind of protect your network from devices, again, that might not be approved to connect to your home network. This is also something that they use with their guest networks. You have a casual guest network level, and this means that you can grant access to someone if they're just kind of passing through, and once they leave your home, once they disconnect from your home internet, they are not allowed back in unless you reapprove them. Now, not to worry, if you have a loved one or you have family members that constantly come over and you've assigned them to the guest network rather than a main network, you can also allow a permanent guest network access as well. So that's a nice feature of this router. Now, the next thing we want to also talk about is VPN coverage. And with VPNs, it's a great way, again, to kind of mask your location or get around certain restrictions that might be in your country or area. Let's click on Next and see what else we have to do. So now let's go ahead and create an account, and let's go ahead and enter in my email here. Creating an account allows you to use the Rio application to configure and set up your Rio router, and it's a great way as well to see what's going on if you're not home, if you're traveling abroad, or whatever the case is. You're always able to open up the Rio application and check on the status of your router and approve or deny certain devices. This is something I'm actually not cool with, and that's putting in a mobile number for a router. I don't know what their privacy policies are, and I definitely don't like giving my number out. I don't want to be spammed to death if they sell this to a data broker. So let's kind of see if we can get around it and just put in a fake number here. Click on Submit. This is a concern of mine. I don't really like this feature. If you've got a fake number like a Google Voice number, this is where you'd want to put it in. Rio, I am not cool with the number verification. I have never seen this on a home router before. Email for password recovery should be plenty. Again, I am not feeling this feature, but if you guys don't mind, it is what it is. I'm just here to show you the features of this router. And let's go ahead and wait for this verification code. With the Rio router, you're able to use it in one of 2 ways. You can use this as your main internet source. So this is how all of your devices will connect to the internet, or if you already have a system set up, you can use it as an access point. I've just gone ahead and connected the Rio router to my internet modem, and there's a couple things I want to bring to your attention right off the bat. Number one, I think the application is actually a very nice app. It's easily laid out. It's very simple to kind of navigate your way through and get to whatever setting you want to connect to. But one thing I really don't like about this router, and it's a real big shame, but you're not able to use your existing SSIDs from your old hardware. And one of the benefits to having Wi-Fi and changing routers is all you really need to do is enter in your old credentials into your new hardware, and all of your devices are going to connect. But for some reason, the team over at Rio decided they don't want you to use your own network names. They want to provide you with a network name. So you can see here my network name is Rio-680A1, and you are not able to change this. You are not able to change that at all. You can change the password, of course. So if I show you that password, you can go ahead and change it. But if you wanted to put in your own name, such as JabberTech is usually my SSID, and all of my IoT devices, all of my computers, all of my laptops will work as if nothing has changed. They'll just always connect to JabberTech. Well, with the Rio router, you are not able to put in your own SSIDs, and that's a huge, huge shame. And it's the number one reason why most people will probably want to stay away from this, unless this is like your first router ever and you wanted to use this network name. This is something that would be very, very cumbersome and be very tedious to go into all of your, well, I have about 50 devices connected. I would have to go into all 50 of those devices and change the password and Wi-Fi name from JabberTech to Rio-680A1. And I'm just not a fan of this, guys. I'm definitely not a fan of this. Now, you are able to have up to 4 different SSIDs, as I mentioned, but you can see here, they're not your own name either. So you have dash shared, dash guest, dash managed, and of course your main network name, which is just the regular Rio 6080A1. So I'm not a fan of this, guys. I hope that Rio takes my kind of recommendation that most people like to name their own networks. We don't like to have a network name kind of shoved down our throats, and we don't really want to go in and kind of reconfigure all of our devices. But that being said, let's just go over some of the other settings of the Rio router here. Now, what I do like about it is you do have secure rooms, and they're like your virtual LANs. So you can group together different devices and give them different access to certain things. So if we have a frequent guest, for example, they'll be able to connect to the Rio 6880A1-guest. Yes, that is not a friendly name at all. So once they connect here, you can have this room do different things. For example, if you wanted to set it up with a VPN server, you could do that. And this is another place where I think vertical integration just does not work when it comes to routers. Because if you do want to set up a VPN on the Rio router, you do have to get it from Rio themselves. Now, it is nice they're giving you 12 months of free subscription, but everyone likes to use their own service. I've been using my own VPN service for probably 5 years, and I don't really see myself changing. So again, while they do have a lot of different servers that you can connect to, the vertical integration means you're always going to be stuck with the Rio router's VPN. Whether or not you like it, you are basically stuck with it. But it is nice that you can add a VPN to a specific room. So again, if you wanted to group together all of your TV boxes, your Android boxes, any of those funky boxes that you might have, you'd connect them to your frequent guest and have that set up with a VPN, and you'd be good to go. Now, there also are parental controls. So again, if you wanted to group together certain devices and group them together like kids' devices, you could set up different parental controls options here. Now, the options are pretty much limited, so you do have allowed websites. So if you wanted to set up the parental controls that just let them access certain websites, you could do that. And if you wanted any of these virtual rooms to connect to other rooms, you could do that just by selecting which room you want them to connect to. So for example, if you want frequent guests to be able to connect with Business Confidential, you could go ahead and do that. And all of those devices would be able to access each other. Now, if you don't group them together, guys, it's a nice feature because it just means that, say, for example, you connect all of your IoT devices into one room. It means that they're not able to check on other devices in other rooms. It's sort of like device isolation on most router these days. You can isolate those devices and let them just be able to talk with other isolated devices. Great for preventing any sort of attack on your system. Great for preventing any sort of older light switches or anything like that that does have exploits that have been exploited from getting access to your network. So I do like that it's called a room management. It's just easier to understand for most people, and you can have up to 16 different rooms, so it's pretty easy to connect to a different room. I'm going to call this one YouTube, and let's set up a password. Let's just call it Jabber. And then you can select which Wi-Fi network you want it to connect to. So again, Rio 6080 A1 managed guest shared. I'm going to leave it on managed. Click on save. Whenever you connect a new device to your Rio router, you're going to see you have pending admittance. And this just means that you have a device that's waiting to be allowed into your Wi-Fi network. And the Rio application, as you saw, sends push notifications as well. So again, this could be nice if you really are worried about what's happening on your network and you don't want weird devices to connect to. This is kind of a nice way to do it. Again, this might be something that a lot of people like. This might be something that you don't, but I do like the idea here. It's definitely a nice idea. So let's click on apply and move to a room. So I'm going to keep this one as an admin device. And now let's allow it access into the Rio router. Now you see device status has successfully been added. And if we go to connected devices down here, you see I have 2 devices connected. So I like this feature, guys. It's definitely a nice feature. I think it's pretty cool if you ask me. That's really it when it comes to the Rio dashboard, guys. I mean, it's a good Wi-Fi 6 router, and in terms of speed and range for a small to medium-sized apartment or home, you're going to be just fine when it comes to the speed and range of this Rio router. And of course, you can add a couple of them and get that mesh network. So if you wanted to buy a couple of Rios, you could add them to get that mesh network of your dreams and eliminate all of those dead spots. But it's a decent router, guys. It's just kind of limited by that vertical integration. I don't like the fact that I can't use my SSID. Most people just want that plug and play solution when it comes to a Wi-Fi router. No one really wants to go in and change their passwords or their names to all of their devices. That's just going to add too much work and definitely not worth it. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of this vertical integration, especially when it comes to the VPN. I like to add my own service. I don't think it's right that you're forced to use their service. Now, Rio says it's for security and for your benefit and blah, blah, blah. But quite honestly, you should be able to use whatever VPN you want. I mean, that's just basic, am I right? If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in another video.